Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk about why Airbnb hosts are unhappy. And I really want to cover three main points, but there seems to be a phenomena, especially for new hosts, that I think a lot of them are surprised because Airbnbs are a lot more work than I think a lot of people in the social media space make it out to be. And frankly, a lot of people don't talk about that work. They talk about, how much money you can make, um, and the more glamorous side of it. But the reality is that this is the hospitality business, and it is not like traditional real estate investing. This is not you put in a tenant and you forget about it, but you have regular actions that you have to take. And frankly, if you're going to own and operate your Airbnb, you need to be prepared for that. So that's what I want to get into today. So this video is really targeted toward those newer Airbnb hosts who are owner operators. And the overarching context that I need to mention is that ultimately what it really boils down to one main issue, one problem that makes Airbnb hosts so unhappy, and that is they lack systems. What are systems? And let's see, I'm gonna have to pull up my handy dandy little dictionary. Okay, so the definition of the word system is a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, an organized framework or method. Okay, so there are quite a few moving parts in that definition. So let's break this down. The first is a set of principles. Now, what the definition means by this is a system is based on a set of beliefs. Um, Whether you believe yourself to be organized, methodical, time-based, there's a set of beliefs that undergird a system, and really the principles should really align with you and what you like and how you operate. So keep that in mind, that before you can create your system, it really has to align with how you work. Because if it doesn't, then you're going to work against it and it's not going to be a useful tool. So the thing to really ask yourself is, what systems can I put into place that are going to support me based on how I like to operate? So that's the first part of the definition of a system. So the second part is, right, procedures according to which something is done. So I think of that in two steps. So what are the actions that you take? And then what is the sequence of those actions? So for example, um, if you, um, are checking, let's say, just the condition of your property, so you want to see if any repairs are needed. What are the things that you check and in what order? That would be just one example. So thinking about the action steps that you take and then when you take them. Right. So when you put all of this together, it's the principles, right? The way that you work, the way that you want to work, the actions that you want to take, and then the order in which you want to take them. That's really what a system is. Okay. So if the bigger problem is that a lot of new Airbnb owner operator hosts lack systems, what kind of systems do they actually need? And in my experience, I've been a host for about 5 years at this point. I've hosted hundreds, if not thousands, of guests. I think that you need three different systems, and they all kind of interrelate. So I'll mention them first, and then I'll go into a little bit of depth. So you need systems for guest communication, then cleaner and like vendor communication, but your cleaner is your primary vendor that you're going to be interacting with the most regularly. And then you need a system for property and supply maintenance. Okay, so now let's get into what the first system is, and that is guest communications. So I have another video, I'll have to link it in the description box below, where I talk about my automated messaging. So I have, I believe it's a series of 5 messages. So there's a check-in confirmation, there is check-in instructions, then there's the morning after they have checked in, asking how their stay is going. And then there's, I think it's like a review request if they haven't reviewed. So maybe it's 4. But like I said, if you want in-depth information, check that video that will be linked below in a sec. Excuse me. The great thing is that there are property management systems that allow you to create templates for whatever messages that you want to send to your guests, and you can indicate at which point you want to send them, what time you want to send them. So the importance of that is to, one, proactively let your guests have the information that they need. You want them to know that you have received and accepted their reservation. You want to give them instructions for accessing the parking, as well as getting into the front door. Anything that they need to get to your place the first time, they'll need that information. And then you want to make sure this third message that I send is very important. It has saved me a few times, because it has helped to catch issues that guests were having, and I was able to address them early. And that is to just ask them, hey, want to check in how your stay is going so far? It's very quick. That's pretty much it. And most of the time, I get a response that says, everything's great. Thank you so much. But occasionally there will be a, hey, do you have this? Or there's some sort of issue, and I'm able to address it. And then lastly, I will ask them to review me, asking if they have had a 5-star experience, if they haven't already given their review. So that to me is enough information for guests, and I've toyed with them over time, not with the content of the message, but with the timing of the message. Particularly with my first 2 messages, the confirmation as well as the check-in instruction. So the confirmation has always gone out immediately, but I have switched up the type of information I include in that, because I wound up getting some guests after they got that message. So I just proactively answered it. So one, they would ask usually, when will I get the check-in instructions, or what are the check-in instructions? So what I now say in the confirmation is, you'll receive your check-in instructions 24 hours prior, and it'll have all your access, parking, etc. And since I did that quite some time ago, no question. So I really do love the system that I have for automated messaging. Here's the thing to keep in mind. Just because you have automated messaging doesn't mean you don't need to continue to respond to your guests or communicate with your guests. So it should go without saying, but oddly, it needs to be said, that as soon as your guests reach out, you should be responding to them immediately or within a reasonable time frame. I have my property management software as well as the Airbnb and VRBO apps on my phone. And really, the only notifications aside from my emergency contacts that I allow through my phone are for those apps, so that I'm able to see it and respond to my guests right away. So I would highly recommend that you are very timely, but you also give great responses. And one thing I will say is that if you are a host and you use Hospitable, and I think some of the other property management softwares might have this integration, but Hospitable has Chat GPT integration. And what you can do within the messaging portion of the app is, there's like a little green button that you can hit, and it will suggest a reply. 9 times out of 10, it is perfect. And I just hit send once I've done that. So it's very smart. It will read what the guest wrote, and it will suggest a reply that is relevant to that. Occasionally I have to make some edits, but it is a tool that saves me so much time. So I highly recommend using a property management software that has AI integration, and that feature in particular, so that you're spending way less time like typing out responses to your guests. So that is the guest communication system that you need. You need automated messaging, and then you need to be able to get the notifications right away when your guests reach out, and then use AI to handle the bulk of the communication. So that's sort of the three-part system that I use. Works incredibly well for me and for my guests. Communications with cleaners. This one took me a little bit of time to figure out. And I think every cleaner is going to be different. So there's no one way that I think is going to work for all of them. But this is what works for my cleaners. So as soon as a guest makes a reservation, my cleaner is notified. And I believe that note, actually, let me pull it up. Let's see, notification rules. Yep. Okay. So I have new reservation, canceled reservation, check-in reminder, and check-out reminder. So 4 automated messages to my cleaner. And these all go via text. Yep. None of them go via email. They go via text. So they go to my cleaner's phone. So the new reservation is pretty simple. We've just received a new reservation at address starting on check-in date for number of guests. And then it says the check-in date, time, checkout date and time. And that's pretty much it. So the others are pretty similar. So whenever there's a new reservation, a canceled reservation, a check-in reminder, and that goes, I believe, 24 hours. Yep, it goes 24 hours ahead of time. So I know that for each reservation, my cleaner is getting 2 notifications that a guest is coming in and she needs to make sure that the home is clean. And then she also gets the notification that the guest will be checking out, and then that listing needs to be turned. And that's pretty much it. And that works really well. I will say for one of these messages, I need to see which one it is exactly. It's the checkout reminder, I think. Yep, it is. So in my checkout reminder, the reason I really love Hospitable is that they allow you to indicate in your messaging to your cleaner whether or not, when a guest is checking out, if there's a same day turn, meaning a new guest is checking in that same day. Beautiful system, because that means that my cleaner knows she needs to prioritize my home because someone else is coming soon, so she can't come later. So I highly recommend Hospitable for that reason alone. The other thing I really love about this platform compared to another that I used is that I see a log of all of the messages that are sent to my cleaner, and they are also proactively emailed to me. So I have complete transparency into the messaging to my cleaner. So previous cleaners that I had sometimes would be like, "Hey, it didn't message me," and I couldn't go into the system and check. So I love that this platform has that capability. So highly recommend it. I am not being paid to say this. I wish I were, but I am not. I just really love the service. So Hospitable is fantastic. So that's the automated communication with the cleaner. There are a couple of different aspects I also want to mention about this. One is, this is actually an indication of whether or not you have a good cleaner and the right cleaner for you, is how responsive are they to you? So how timely are they in getting responses back to you, and how proactive are they? So this cleaner that I now have, who is an angel from heaven up above, love her. She proactively, for every single turn, will send me photos of each of the rooms to show me like what it looks like and to confirm that it's cleaned. So that way I know that it was done. And I have a record of what the home looked like before the guests showed up. So, in case anything happens, any damage or any excessive dirtiness, I have the proof, which is fantastic. So, I would highly recommend that you put that into what? Your system. You need to have a system. So, I would say the proactive messaging from your cleaner, I think, is a huge indicator of how good your cleaner is. And then just timeliness. So really, what you're looking for there is, are they quick in getting back to you? Um, and if they're not, then maybe they're too busy, or maybe they're just not um, proactive in communication, and you may need to train them on that. Yeah, not too much more to say on that. So we've just covered guest communications, cleaner communications as like the systems that you need. And then we're going to get into the third system. Now, this one, I saved this one for last because it's a little bit more complex. And I'm going to talk you through some innovations I've done with my Airbnb business that have really made it a lot more simple to do this. So when it comes to maintaining your property and your supplies, this is one aspect of the guest experience that I think matters a ton. You want to make sure that there are adequate supplies and the supplies that you promised in your listing. I actually forgot that in one of my listings, I was trying to do this continental breakfast thing. It didn't work, so I removed it, but I forgot to take it out of the listing. And a guest messaged me a couple weeks ago saying she was disappointed about that. And I was like, I just forgot. So make sure that you have enough and you have what you promised in your listing as well as in your photos. And that they're good quality. Don't cheap out here, and really don't cheap out in any part of your Airbnb business, because this is really what's going to impact your guest experience, and it will show up in your reviews. Okay, so the system to maintain the property. For me, this is twofold. And I will say that I live within walking distance of all of my Airbnbs, which I highly recommend to all of you hosts to be either within walking or short driving distance. I do not recommend brand new hosts to do Airbnbs out of state, or something that's just too far for you to get to, because you're going to be overly reliant on your vendors, on your cleaner, your handyman, your plumbers, whomever. And they may or may not prioritize your business, right? And you don't really have a lot of control over the quality. And depending on the location, like if your business is in a really remote location or low populated place, you just may not have the labor workforce, which for me is a red flag. I'm not ever going to go to a place that doesn't have the labor force that's going to support the operation of my short-term rental business, because I don't want to scramble for people, or I don't want to be held hostage to low quality people. That's the other sort of impact of that. Okay, so I'm close, which means I'm in my units quite a bit. I live right next door to one of my units, so I'm in that one probably once a week. My other units, yeah, I would say I'm probably in them all consistently about once a week. So I am looking for cleanliness, and I've got like a little checklist, and that's something that I can certainly make available to folks if that would be helpful to you. But I'm looking for, one, cleanliness. I'm looking for any scuffs or marks on the wall. Then I'm also looking at the condition of the furniture and the appliances. Are there any dings, any scratches, anything like that? And then I'm looking inside all of the drawers, like within the kitchen, to make sure, do I have enough spoons, forks? You'd be surprised. Those things they will walk away. So I'm just looking to see if there's enough, if they're in the right place. That happens quite a bit, is that stuff will kind of move. And I'm really OCD about having things in the place that they were in the photo, so that guests are having a very consistent experience from booking to actually staying. So I'm looking at the quality and the sufficiency of all of those things. So that's sort of part of property maintenance, the system. The other part of the system is like sometimes things need to get done that I can't do. So I have regular pest control. They come quarterly and they spray the interior, they spray the exterior. Folks like plumbers and electricians and handymen, I just have them come in as needed. When it comes to like my gutters, I have the covers on them so I don't have to continuously have those cleaned. I do have landscaping service that will maintenance my properties bi-weekly, usually from about like end of April or so, like mid to late April up until toward the end of the fall. So covering spring, summer, and a chunk of the fall. Cause like, we have I'm in the DC metro area, so it's a swamp, which means it's very green and verdant in the spring and summer, and then in the fall, all the leaves fall and they make a mess. So I have to have all of that maintained. So that is another regular maintenance service that I have. Yeah, so I would just say pest control and landscaping is ongoing. Um, and that's pretty much it. I would say one thing that we recently put into place was hiring someone to take out the trash and the recycling at the ones that are a little bit further away, because it was, excuse me, just a little bit too tough for me to remember to go all of the time, and it was just worth it to pay just a few dollars for someone to do that. So that's the property maintenance. Supply maintenance, I would say it's taken me a while to get to this point where at least every unit has a dedicated supply closet that is organized with shelves, and things are very easy to see in terms of, how much do I have, when do I need to reorder and stuff. And what I'm working on right now is an inventory sheet. I would love to be able to like digitize that like on a website or something like that, but I don't have the skills to be able to do that. So I might just do well, I have a Google Sheet. So I'm just thinking through how I can integrate that into my cleaner system, because right now she'll just text me when something needs replacing, repair, or we need to order more, which works fine. But I would love to have more predictability into that aspect of my business, so that for example, I could in January order everything that I need for the entire year and then not have to think about it. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have her document at the beginning and the end of each month how much in the consumable supplies I have, so I can see like what's the rate at which these are being consumed, and I can then know, a year from now, how much do I need to last the entire year. So that's something I'm working on. And having all of those systems in place, so communication with guests, communication with cleaner, as well as property supplies and maintenance, has really helped me keep the time spent on my business to maybe a couple of hours a week. And I have a handful of Airbnbs. So I'm able to work full time and do this in addition. And it doesn't drive me crazy. I'm not miserable. In fact, I really enjoy being an Airbnb host. And that's because I've made my business work for me. Like, I like to be organized. Um, I like to have adequate supplies. I don't ever like to run out. I don't ever like to scramble. So just being proactive in each of these areas really suits the way that I work. So that is it for today's video. I hope that you found it helpful and would love to hear what kind of systems you all have in place, or would you like for me to talk about in more depth. So thank y'all so much for watching. Bye.